G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Yes, we are in June, and yes, we are just 1 month away from the July Test Series or whatever they call it this year. And yes, we are heading to the business end of all the major tournaments into the elimination rounds, into the championship weekends. So yeah, first of all, I would like to talk a little bit about South African rugby. So Jake White, one of the greatest coaches I think ever. Let me know if you disagree in South African history. Obviously won the Rugby World Cup with Eddie Jones in 2007, has come out and talked about, well, once again, wanting to bolster the domestic talent pool by only allowing the Springboks making their selections from home. Now, since the Springboks has opened up selections from overseas, has saw just great result, right? And I think there has been a lot of and it's proven, because before this there was a lot of question whether this is going to work and how this is going to if this is going to hurt the domestic competition. And I think South Africa actually proven that it didn't, and he actually made the game better and made the game much more profitable overall. One of the things that we tend to forget, at least from in the Southern Hemisphere here in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, it's kind of like a trickle down setup. When the national team do well, all the other interest for the domestic rugby goes up. That's how it has worked in Southern Hemisphere, pretty much, as far as the game turned professional. And as we can see here in Super Rugby in South Africa, right? Yes, the local teams are a little bit weaker because some of the big talents are overseas. But because the national team is doing so well, that interest is being funnel down to the local teams, despite you're not doing as well as you could, right? You are still overall, as across the board. Maybe everyone's a little bit less because you're not winning as much as you would like, but across the board on average, the interest has the tide has lifted everything up, right? Whereas under the Jake Paul's structure, yes, you might have a lot more talents, grouped up in one really strong team, like we saw here in Super Rugby in 2015 with the Waratahs, or 2014 with the Waratahs. You have a lot of really strong talent, and that one team is doing really well in terms of getting fan engagement, but everyone else is not doing that well. And overall, you might have a couple of years that are really good for the national teams because you do have that really strong talent pool grouped together. But in the long run, you're going to end up in a problem just like the Waratahs and Australian rugby had 10 years ago, around the 2014-2015 period, where, yes, you have one really good team and really good, strong group of people, but once that group of people retires, suddenly the next generation hasn't been given the same opportunity to grow to that next level, and you actually end up hurting yourself in the long-term development of your overall talent base. And suddenly your national team is struggling. And yes, you had that a couple of years where one Super Rugby team is doing really well, and suddenly the whole system crumbles underneath you. Because one of the things, if you probably don't know this, but as a rugby fan here in Australia, I can tell you, there was like a period from 2017, maybe to 2019, right? Literally, if you are playing as a fly half or like a prop in one of the 4 Super Rugby teams here in Australia, or 5, or whatever what the time was, I think it was 5, or maybe it was the Force Kick, I can't remember. But if you're literally in the starting team in one of the 4, one of the 5 Super Rugby teams in Australia, you are guaranteed the national jersey. Imagine, and your national team has 2 fly halves, right? You got a starting one, a reserve, and maybe even a third one for injury cover. And there's only 5 Super Rugby teams. And then if you're playing one of the 5, you already have more than 50% of a chance of being in the Wallabies in some capability. Like, how is that a competitive environment for selections for a national team? And it gets even worse in some other positions like props. Like, literally, if you're the starting prop for like the Reds, it basically guaranteed a position. Because there's 4 props just to be in the starting 23, and then you got the reserve 2. That's like 6 props. And then there's only 5 Super Rugby teams. And you get a starting position at a prop, and you're already guaranteed to be in the Wallabies in some capacity, right? Like, that's not a competitive setup. And you end up like Australian rugby here, where talents go overseas, and the talents domestically have no competition, and they're just like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit if we don't win Super Rugby? I got my paycheck. I'm getting selected for the Wallabies. I don't care, right? Like, you end up in that situation, exact situation that we have here in Australia. And then what's happened is you're gonna take years to even build. And if you open up the competition, you might take years for you to even build that, that competition back up again. Yeah, the way that the Springbok has like opened up its doors, it's much better, right? Because Sacha is not just competing with fellow players from the Bulls and Sharks for the 10 jersey. He's also competing with the people overseas that are outstanding. I think Pola is back now, but he used to compete against Pola, who's overseas, for the same 10 jersey. And it adds competition, it adds, it drives the players to do better. And overall, it's not just a joke, right? Like, oh, I've made it to the Bulls, starting fly half of the Bulls. I'm guaranteed to be the Springboks now. Like, you won't, you're not gonna end up with that absurdity. And I think, the way that it's currently set up is much better than what Jake Bull. I don't like the way that he's going to go back the way he was for the South Africans. Congratulations for Mr. Quade Cooper. He's landed a commentary job for not Australia, for the New Zealand commentary team at Sky Sport. So this is going to be interesting to see Quade. Especially if he gets to broadcast the Bledisloe Cup. I wonder if he's going to get booed again by the New Zealand fans. But hey, congratulations, man. And hopefully he talks up the Wallabies. Fijian Drua, obviously the end of Super Rugby season now. Mass exodus once again this year. Another, 8 players leaving overseas. We've got Kuravoli's gone. Durasesi's gone. Sila's gone. Tamani is gone. Thanakai Vata is gone. Wanka is gone. Logani Masi is gone. And Tabua Vau is gone as well. So some of these are pretty big. And I'm like Kuravoli and Durasese. Thanakai Vata. Waka as well. They're all pretty big names for Fijian and Drua. We've seen this a lot for the Fijian team over the last number of seasons now. It's becoming basically a team that funnels talents overseas. And it is going to be tough for Fijian to fix this. I don't know how. I mean, it is so tough, and they can make so much money overseas, and it's just the way it is. And it's funny, the management actually look at this as a good thing. They're like, if we don't have a high turnover in this club, then we're stopping young men from putting on the blue jersey, which is kind of interesting, which is kind of like what I was just talking about in terms of only make selections domestically, right? You actually, so for them, if the once you get good enough, you go overseas, you are still in the Fijian national consideration, right? And then domestically, new people are coming through, right? And that's exactly one of the reasons why I think that going back to the selecting only domestically is the problem, right? Because you keep having these older players hogging all the developmental positions, and so you're never gonna get the new players come through because you only got 5 teams. You're not the French who has 14 teams that can grow, and then and the D2 and the second tier division that can grow talents en masse. In a very top level that can push lots of talents to the top levels, and you can't do that. And I think that Fijian already kind of understand this, and I think they're saying it's okay. Obviously, gonna look at positive as well. Super Rugby, it's okay. This is a place we can bring out new players as well. So Super Rugby semi-final coming up this weekend. Not looking good for the Aussies. Hurricanes versus the Brumbies at home tomorrow at 5 p.m. Crusaders versus Blues got a home game. The game was sold out in 20 minutes apparently. Listen, guys, if your stadium is selling out in 20 minutes, okay, it means it's too small, okay? 25,000 people, come on, man. You can't even play a Bledisloe Cup there. You got to build like 40,000 at least. Come on, man. I mean, like anyway, but they'll, 20, they'll tell us that out in 20 minutes. I mean, anyway. But I feel like, yeah, definitely a bit too small if it's keep selling out instantly. But they are going to be hosting the Blues. Both teams having a bit of injury issues, but Blues are potentially looking at, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure if the Blues can pull out the upset here. Chiefs versus the Reds. Chiefs looking super strong. Big returns, Damien McKenzie. Just one thing before we go forward. Super Rugby, come on, man. 5:30 on a Friday afternoon for the Brumbies game. Come on, man. Like, if this was gonna be, anyway, put the Crusaders game here. If you can't change the time to 5:30 or 6, otherwise, if you're gonna have an Australian team play in a semi-final or a quarter-final, whatever you call it, make it 5:30 or 6. People have jobs, man. And in Sydney, it takes like 30 minutes. Just go down the street, man. Like, come on, dude. It's just anyway. And like I said, if you can't change the schedule, move the Crusader game, right? Anyway, moving on. Tyrell Lomax has re-signed with the All Blacks for till 2026. He plays for the Hurricanes at tight end prop. And then we've got, the Aussies record play in New Zealand has been absolutely horrendous. 0 out of 21. 0 out of 21 in Super Rugby Pacific. My God, that is horrendous. So yeah, and considering the Brumbies lost against the has actually just gone downhill the whole season, the Brumbies, and they've lost to Moana Pasifika in the last game, final round. I don't think that, I would like to be surprised. Please win this game for me. But I really don't think so. I mean, they're probably going to kick a bunch of penalties and pat themselves on the back and think that's good enough. Anyway, the top 14 is getting a little bit interesting as well. They're coming down to the business end of the season, and they still got one more round to go. Yeah, so Super Rugby started like, 2 months, 3 months after top 14 kicked off. And top 14 still has one more round, and Super Rugby is already going to the semi-final. I will see the difference in quality of rugby in just a minute. So top 14 still got one more round. Top 14 has 14 teams, and only 6 teams gets to play in the finals. Super Rugby has 11 teams, 6 teams to play in the finals. So, and then they have a relegation. The bottom team has to play a relegation match to get relegated to the tier 2. No such thing exists here in Super Rugby, but so they have and also there's a funny rule here. So in France, you have to field both on your bench and in the starting team on average of 16 what's called GIF players, which is domestically pathway players coming from France. So out of your 23 players a week, 16 of the 23 players on average every week needs to be domestic players from France. And then if you fall below that, you have to make up for it or have your points deducted. So that's the problem that Rusty 92 is facing right now. They've got one more round coming up, and to make up their average to be 16, they have to field 18 domestic players this weekend. And it's a crucial game because they're playing against Toulouse, and if they lose this game, they might get knocked out of top 6. Yeah, that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal. And on the other end, Bordeaux, despite winning the Champions Cup, they have, they have to actually, because that's actually become a disadvantage for some of these teams because they're playing the Champions Cup. Some of the players had to be rested after the next round, and as a result, some of the games that they played that following the Champions Cup they've actually lost, and now they're facing a situation where they must win this final week, otherwise they're not gonna make it into the top 6. And now they're facing a problem with the fly half with Matthew Jalibert, with a calf injury as well. So they're gonna go into the final round to play against Clermont, who's on the 6 for the top 6 spot. So this is getting really, really spicy. So just let's have a quick look at the ladder for the top 14. Top 6. So in the next round, the top 2 teams guaranteed don't play next round because they basically go straight to the semi-final. So the quarterfinal is only played with the top 14, with 3 to 6 will fight in a spot to go into semifinals. So the top 2 teams already gets a week break essentially, and then all of these teams are eliminated, and then the ones at the bottom has to play. Oh, 2 teams at the bottom has to play for the relegation match. That is brutal. I thought it was just one. Actually, 2 teams has to play. Oh no, wait. The bottom team is relegated directly. The second up has to play has to play the relegation match. Oh boy, that's even worse. I thought just the bottom team has to play the relegation. But boy, you straight out eliminated. Oh god, that is brutal. That is brutal. But this team is horrendous. 7 points? He's like, have they lost like just about every game? Oh my god. I mean, of course, straight up eliminated, and then the next team has to play for a relegation game. But anyway, so how it goes is this: the final round for the French side, Bordeaux, UBB has to play Clermont, who's number 6, and it's going to be I think it's going to be away, or is it at home? Whereas he showed the thing. Anyway, I think it's away, right? Is it at home? I think it's at home. Oh yeah, here it is. It is. They're gonna have to play Clermont at home. Okay, so if they beat Clermont, they move up, and they also have to hope that that Rasi 92, the 18-player newbies coming through, are gonna lose to State Toulouse. Okay, Toulouse, which is the top team, right? Which might so Racing 92 might lose this one ordinarily, but because this is the final round, Toulouse might not care about winning and losing and put on essentially a B team themselves. So Racing might not be completely just not getting knocked out here. Toulouse might put on a B team, and Racing 92 might actually, their B team, their forced B team, might actually just win this one and still stay in the top 6. But Bordeaux have to win this one over Clermont to even potentially get in the top 6. And then we've got Toulouse will play Castres, which means that Toulon will play Castres, and they will pretty much win this one. They will put themselves in top 6. And then, so yeah, it really comes down to Racing, whether or not they're going to be playing against the B team of Toulouse or not, and then whether the B team is going to win it, which B team is going to win this one in the end. I did watch this game on Montpellier play Palois, whatever they called on the weekend. And boy, the kicking game was just like nauseating. Seriously, it was horrendous, especially from this team. It was horrendous. Like, they just box kick, and finally the ball goes wide. It's only to get kicked away immediately. And then the lineouts was horrendous. Both team was horrendous. And then the scrum was lost, just got demolished by Montpellier. Like, what are you doing? Like, you kick the ball away, and then you can't win any of the set piece. And then what is the point? It was horrendous. But, I only watched the first 20 minutes to turn it off. But apparently it wasn't too bad of the game. But I thought the style that the team played was absolutely atrocious to watch. This guy, James Ram, is coming back to Australia for the Western Force for a couple of years. He's been playing for the Saints. Crusaders has had a big injury with Fletcher Newell. And overall, the scrum has been not as dominant as we would like. 2 All Blacks props has been injured now for the Crusaders. But overall, you'll be watching out for David Havili to make the big play and to be the game breaker, the difference maker out there. And Johnny McNichol has been absolutely outstanding as well, so stepping in for Will Jordan. I felt like Johnny McNichol has done better than Will Jordan for the Crusaders, to be really honest with you. Just the way that he the way that he plays around the play, he coordinates with the players around him. Obviously, he's not as explosive as Will Jordan, but the way he works around the players around him, I felt like Johnny McNichol is actually a better player for them. The Blues still don't have Beauden Barrett coming into this one against the Crusaders, and I don't know. I don't think the Blues. I'm not 100% sure about this Blues team about winning. AJ Lamb has been moved back to wing. Also quite interesting selection there, but I don't think the Blues are going to win this one, and Crusaders always build and ramp towards the end. The Reds also had a bit of injury issue for Moana Pasifika with Daugunu stepping in at number 12 at inside center. Daugunu has covered outside center for the Reds, even for the Wallabies. So inside center shouldn't be too much of a change for him. And Fraser McGrath is playing his 100th Super Rugby cap as well for this one. The Chiefs' big returns, Leroy Carter and Damien McKenzie, just gonna absolute power over the Reds, I think. I'm hoping for a miracle, but we'll wait and see. And then finally, we've got the what do you call it? The God, what's going on here? The fan on my computer just start buzzing. Hopefully it's not too loud. Anyway, so for the Hurricanes, we still got the return. We've got bigger returns as well. I'm just super distracted by this. Can you guys hear this? Hopefully you're not. I'm like the fan on the computer just start going berserk. Anyway, focus. So for the Hurricanes, big returns last week. Obviously they had a B team on this week. The big DMs coming back. Jordy Barrett, Ruben Lava both back. Jordy Barrett had a bit of injury, so he's back from the injury as well. Very, very strong team for the Hurricanes. Still Fihi Contract still not available with hamstring injury. He will be available next week in the semifinal by the looks of it. But overall, this is a pretty strong team for the Hurricanes. So Fihi, this guy you're looking at screen, there was a lot of talks that New Zealand Rugby has tried to buy out his contract. He's going to go overseas next year, but apparently they deny this happening because technically it's against the rules. You're not allowed to, disrupt a player's contract negotiation like that by stepping in. But there could be something going on. There could be, a potential that Fihi gets selected for the All Blacks this year, and then he somehow changes his mind and New Zealand Rugby put a bigger offer. But technically, New Zealand Rugby is not allowed to do that, to kind of like just throw money at a player and try to, disrupt his decision to go overseas. So by the books, right? So by the as he currently stands, Fihi is still going to go to Red Bull, the Newcastle Red Bull in UK, in England, and New Zealand Rugby is still allowed to select him for the All Blacks because he's technically that starts next year, so he's currently still for the Hurricanes. So during the All Black season, there may something happen, then change his mind or something. You get a big something like that might happen that gives him confidence to renege his deal. But before that, this is still technically happening that he's still going overseas. So we'll see. We'll see what New Zealand Rugby do, and I'll be very surprised if you don't select him for the All Blacks, especially if he's allowed to. I mean, if they don't, they'll just be shooting themselves on the foot once again for, some old law that doesn't really make sense anymore. Semi-finals for the URC is going to be interesting. Bulls versus the Warriors. Glasgow Warriors away. Leinster versus Stormers, with the Stormers away in Ireland as well. So, yeah, this is interesting. Both of the South African teams has won big in the semi-final. But yeah, it's looking pretty tough. Their records away hasn't been that great, especially with the Stormers. Now that Sacha and Gomezulu is injured, it's going to be pretty tough for them to win this one, in my opinion. So with Leinster, there's some talks that Jackson Nienaber is going to get fired. There's a lot of public pressure and a lot of pressure from the media. Apparently, one of the media guy called him as the devil, dealing a deal with the devil. But so he's not happy, and he's basically saying that, it's not the CEO that's going to fire him. It's the public that's going to want to see him go. So he's not happy. Had a bit of rant about this, and he's going to be. Looks like Neinaber is going to be, he signs through 2027, so he might be getting fired just because the public are not happy with the way that he's performing. And Neinaber has made saying that they won the championship last year. Yeah, they failed they won the URC last year. They failed the Champions Cup again this year. It's not really too bad of a record. But the Irish fans obviously expected to, win a lot more considering how dominant and how much national team player is available to him. So yeah, the Fihi Contract talk about. Ma Nonu is looking at an exit too long. He was caught in like a number year ago as like an injury cover, as like a wildcard injury cover, and he's just been playing for a bit, and he's finally gonna get let go at 44 years of age. He might play again in the USA or something. So Sacha, 3 to 6 months, injury from an ankle. He was landed on in a tackle on the weekend when he was going for a try, yeah, there's a huge injury list for the Springboks. We'll have a look at that going into the. We'll look at that as we're heading into the July Test Series opener against England, but it's looking a bit desperate. But they do have some. I mean, still got Pollard and still got Moana the Bok. I mean, Huaga Smith is injured, Sacha's injured, so it's going to be a little bit of setback for Rassi, that's for sure. Jay Gordon put his Achilles on the weekend, just running, and he's going to be out for quite some time for that. What is it? Pretty much the rest of the season, essentially, from Achilles, and he just he looked like someone, he got sniped. He just ran and just fell over on his own. Corey Toole has re-signed with Rugby Australia for 2 more years. Dan McKellar is still signed with the Waratahs till next year and is still looking at building. Yeah, another loss against the Western Force. Some work needs to be done. I feel like he's battling more than just rugby. He has to battle certain. I don't know. It's going to be tough. So Bernard Foley is finishing up his final season in Japan and potentially returning to the Waratahs. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I thought he announced retirement. Is he going to be available for the Wallabies again? Potentially. He saw what James O'Connor did, and he's like, I can do that. Maybe, right? So, yeah. Moana Pasifika, we're talking about this in the review in more detail, but they are out of the competition. The financials just not adding up. They're losing like $10 million a year. Have you got $10 million a year that you want to throw at the rugby team? Yeah, so they are, the only way that they could be saved if like New Zealand Rugby or one of the government steps in to save them. And, it's even then losing $10 million a year. Not ideal. There is some talk that there is a consortium might come in and rescue them, but unless there's going to be like some kind of guarantee to reduce the deficit of $10 million a year, I don't see that's going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, moving on. Jordie Barrett is still talking about returning to Leinster and try to, help them win a Champions Cup. But I just find it interesting that Jordie Barrett, don't want to stay in New Zealand. Don't you think? That's all the news for this week. Let me know your thoughts and predictions. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the reviews for Super Rugby. And I'm going to do the URC reviews this weekend as well. But thanks for watching. Have a good one. Cheers.